This is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden and British Lion. You listen to Andrew McCasebit from Scars and Guitars.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. I'm so pleased you can join me because a long-awaited conversation featuring Patrick Mameli of Pestilence awaits. Now, the catalyst for the introduction to Patrick is due to an Australian tour. Pestilence are playing shows finally after all these decades across our wide brown land, and I'll put a link to tickets and dates and all that sort of stuff in the episode description. If you are local, check it out. Now in the conversation, of course, Patrick discusses the tour, what we can anticipate and how much he's been looking forward to playing in Australia. But we also discuss AI, the role of technology in music, heavy metal. Patrick reflects on his experience in the financial industry and how that may relate to how he runs Pestilence. He looks back on his time with Roadrunner or Road Racer Records, as they were called back in the day, and maintaining creative direction and control within the band. And you people who've been listening to the show will anticipate that with someone who's been around as long as Patrick, he certainly has an opinion on topics related to the social and political spheres. So yes, it's one of those episodes as well. That's why I love talking to guys like Patrick, because they don't self-censor. Really enjoyed this one, and I hope you do too. Here he is, Patrick from Pestilence.
What's up?
Mate, how's it going?
Yeah, good, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Been looking forward to our chat. How have the conversations with us in Australia been going so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I think I've done 2 inties. This is going to be my third, and there's going to follow some other ones next week. Mm-hmm. But I think the overall response has been just amazing. Just what I get from Facebook Messenger, all these things, Instagram. People are really looking forward to having us, and it's crazy because I've been doing this for 35 plus years and I've never been to Australia, and which is a shame because it always boils down to the costs of the plane tickets and stuff like that, and then after a while it's just like let's just forget about it, and then in the end it's like, wow, I really want to go there. And Dave Haley being a good friend of mine, and he played on one of my albums, so that we got in touch, and from there it just went really, really fast.
That's right, he played on Obsidio, is that correct?
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of my favorite albums as well. So, it's been a pleasure, working together with him, and then now making sure that we, put our feet on Australian soil, which is just amazing to me. Since the long history that we as a band have, and we've never been there before, which is just crazy.
Certainly, yeah. I recall reading about you as far back as Spheres. I'm 46, so I was reading Metal Maniacs and Hot Metal, it might have been as well. I can't recall now, but certainly that's as far back as my memory goes. I know you've had a few albums out before then, but is that about, does my introduction to Pestilence sort of marry up with your understanding and awareness of when we in Australia, generally speaking, might have been introduced to the band?
Well, if sometimes when people recognize me in the street, and it's like in any country where we are at, doing a show or a festival or whatever, I'm always amazed by the dedication of metalheads and fans, that they always are so loyal to the bands that they grew up on, and for me it just blows my mind to say that we have fans in Australia and never being there, never been there before. So for me, it's just like it's a total blast, and it's crazy. You guys are a zillion miles away, from the rest of the earth. Sometimes it feels right, But at least you guys have at least your metal scene is flourishing as well. I think the last 10, 20 years, it's been on the uprise, it's we get to listen to more Australian metal bands than ever before, and it's been a crazy ride, because back in the day when I grew up, the only thing that you could get a hold of was through tape trading.
Yeah.
Right, that was back in the old days when you didn't have the internet. It was like you go to the postal service and there was a package for you, and you had a cassette, and you put it in your cassette player, and then you sit there with your friends, listening to Mantas or Pre-Death or something like this, and it's like. It's been an awesome ride, just being there from the start, I guess, from the beginning of the birth of death metal, and that makes me feel really old. But you can say I'm very blessed that I've been there.
That's a very, very good point, because indeed you were around at the very beginning, no doubt. Tape trading with Cam Lee and Chuck. So the question in amongst all of that, as metal was starting to become a bit more extreme. So I'm in the camp that doesn't believe, even though I said I did, I shouldn't have said it, but I said to Jeff that I think, yes, you're right, Possessed is a death metal band. I don't think they are. I think they've just pushed it to the line right before it was death metal. I think that still goes to Cam Lee and Chuck. But you were doing your own thing with demos and no doubt in rehearsal rooms. So what inspired you to do the death metal vocal?
Well, in the beginning, when we recorded, I think it was our first demo. I sang, and before that, I didn't really want to sing, because I just wanted to concentrate on my guitar playing. But then when I saw Chuck do it, I was like, "Fuck, man, that kind of looks cool." And people don't realize is that for us, it's a double task, because you have to play the guitar and you have to sing vocals, and which, if you just have a singer, he can just focus on singing. You don't have to worry about playing the guitar and hitting all the right notes as well. So I was like, oh, wow, we have to be the European answer to death. And that's been my journey for the longest time, is that when the music came from Florida mainly. You have the Norwegian death metal, but I was never too interested in that, because I thought that the Americans always were at the forefront of these types of music styles, right? So, we just wanted to be the European answer to death, and I think we succeeded that, with Consuming Impulse and with Testimony, we kind of already took a giant leap ahead of what was called the traditional death metal. I would consider it like, for example, Scream Bloody Gore, or maybe. Yeah, or maybe Leprosy, because that was going into that really heavy direction, sound-wise as well. That's where we had to come up with Consuming Impulse as an answer to that. I kind of let that go after Testimony. I kind of stopped listening to the same music in my own genre, I guess, because I wanted to preserve the Pestilence style, and I'm still doing it today. Is that I don't get influenced by any other metal band, because I just don't listen to it. A lot of fans bash me for that, because they say and think that if you play in a death metal band, you have to listen to death metal 24/7 as well. But that's just not my thing. I'd rather have peace and quiet around my head, and get my own ideas, and then make it and create them and compose them into songs, and then just keeping the Pestilence style fresh. And I've been doing that for a long time already.
You're clearly a very fit bloke, and you keep in shape, which means that you're cognitively in tune as well. But what non-musical inspirations then have inspired your music?
Well, it maybe sounds weird, but just nature, like the waves of the water at the beach, the wind, just like these things that kind of soothe my mind, where I don't have to think about the daily problems that everybody has about paying bills and doing this and that. Being my own boss, and having my band. kind of eases my mind, because obviously I've worked, for a boss in the past as well, but that just never tickled my fancy. It's just like, I just want to be creative and do my own stuff. And I know that for me is when I work out, I keep my body and my mind, like you just said, I just keep it. I guess I could keep it young and make sure that I can keep continuing this, because touring is very hard and sometimes, and it's very tough for people, especially when you wake up, at 8 or 9 in the morning and you just went to bed because you've been drinking all night.
Yeah.
I've let that stuff go a long time ago, and for me, it's more important to be able to perform well and make sure that we to our best abilities, make sure that we can get our point across.
Or the question actually should be: is Pestilence a dry band? In other words, do all of you abstain from alcohol?
Yes, we all do, and I think that is like, I remember back in the days where we didn't take that so seriously. Come to find that it's not very professional, and you think you did your best performance ever, and then later on you read it in the magazines that you played like shit, and it's like you didn't even compute or comprehend yourself what you're, how you look and what you're doing, so. We can't have that. We're all skilled musicians. The people that I play now with, they take their job very seriously, which I think is taking your music to the next level. You have to be professional about everything, every aspect of life, I guess. You have to be sober, man, to understand where you stand in life.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. You worked in the financial sector for a bit. I was reading, there's a Blabbermouth article where you were talking about your experiences there. But my question for you is, what did you learn from your experience there that you apply in your day-to-day in Pestilence?
Well, I guess is the gratitude, I guess, for life itself, is that every action will get a reaction, right? So if you are trying to be as positive as possible, obviously, some people believe in karma. I don't really believe in it, but I do believe in action and reaction. So if you treat people nice, they will treat you nice. Obviously, there are some bad people around as well, but I have learned that it doesn't matter how much money you have or what job you have. If you don't love your job, it's best to leave it, because you're wasting time. Time is so precious, and I think once you get a little bit older, you start to realize that life is really short. It's not. It's very short, so you better make a difference the time that you're here. And that is something that I've learned, is like, when I was working in the financial sector, I was making a lot of money, working for banks and getting everything done, but it was very stressful, and you're just a number then, but when you play music, your fans, they really love you for the music that you make. And that gives me so much more pleasure than earning big money, which is something that is it's so unimportant, really. It's like being in the desert and you're with $1 million, but you don't have a bottle of water. What are you going to do with $1 million, right?
I love that. That's a great analogy. Yeah. So it begs a question then, what's been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in your time in the band?
I think I guess letting go of the business side of it and become a little bit more business smart yourself, instead of getting engulfed and getting just, I guess, swallowed by the music industry. It's like, for me, I learned my lesson, because I got a record deal really early in my musical career, and I'm very grateful that I got the opportunity to wisen up about the music industry and how things roll. Actually, Sometimes you really have you have ideals, stuff that you want to achieve, and then if for some reason it never happens. And that can be, have a lot of factors actually, but you have to be positive and you have to be maintaining your own frame of mind and make sure that people don't drive you crazy, because a lot of people in the music industry, they only care about music. About money, not about the music.
Yeah,
it's about and and everything is recoupable. You get some money up front to record an album, but you have to pay that money back anyways. So better do everything yourself. And that's what that we started to do. We have our own recording studio. When we record our albums, from now on, we do everything ourselves. I keep my my rights to everything.
good.
I don't sign my soul for more than 1 or 2 albums, and then I'm gone. It's just like I've learned so much in the industry, and a lot of people just don't understand how that goes. You have to be a very big band. For example, Cannibal Corpse used to open up for Pestilence, and now they're the biggest thing. They still have to go 24/7 on the road. To meet them, they have to still
absolutely
make money, and it's just a few bands in the death metal scene that can live off their music. So that's just a reality of the whole thing.
Would you agree, after your very long tenure in a band, that there's no such thing as trust, only mutual self-interest?
Well, I would hope to think that the guys in my band, that I could trust them. And obviously, it's just with normal, regular friendships as well. Some guys resonate more with you, or girls, than others, and then just pick the good ones out, and then just make sure that you can trust these people. Like I said, in the music industry, a lot of people are two-faced. They smile in your face and then stab you in the back. That's just the way it works. Some people are jealous. Other people are really genuinely happy for you. So, you have to just filter out the bad vibes and just eliminate them and just get rid of them in your life. So I hope to believe that the guys in the band are fully trustworthy and have a big. I mean, you can see it. What kind of standard people have, right? Especially some people that drink, they show a different side of themselves, what they normally wouldn't do. But as far as the band, I'm very happy. And like I said, be honest and be upfront in what your intentions are. Also with labels and stuff like that, my record label knows exactly how I stand in it and how I feel about the business, so they can't screw me over, because I tell them I cannot be screwed over with these things.
Thinking about the relationship with Roadrunner then, which ended in 1994 or 1995. It might have just been coincidence, but that'll be the question. Were you part of the group of bands that they jettisoned in favour of the new metal sound?
The thing is that I could have went do Testimony Part 2, right? I guess if I would have taken that road, I would have been maybe now one of the biggest bands, together with Cannibal Corpse and all these other bands that are still really doing well, I guess. But as Roadrunner was getting more greedy and signing every death metal band they could get, they were flooding the scene a lot. And what happened was, like bands like Pestilence, and for example, a band like Sepultura, they were pushing hard, and then they couldn't keep them because they were very unhappy as well, and Pestilence was very unhappy with Roadrunner. So I had to come up with something like a scheme to get out of the contract, because otherwise I know what would have happened, because we were signed for 5 albums, even an option to the 6th one. And so they could just totally freeze us, and then we couldn't do anything anymore, So came up with Spheres. They couldn't promote that album. They couldn't do anything with it because it was just like, whatever. And then they dropped us. And that was a blessing in disguise for me, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to get out of that contract. And again, that was a huge eye opener for myself, and making sure that the next time I wouldn't get screwed over like that ever again. So, and that's the whole thing. You can say, well, I signed to Nuclear Blast. Oh man, I'm signed to this and that, but you're just one of the many bands then, and you just hope that, because if you're popular, they'll put all kinds of money in you, and then you'll be on a lot of festivals. But when they dislike you, or when you don't perform the way they want you to perform, then they don't care anymore about you, and then you don't get the festivals, because it's just like the whole scene is just like politics. This guy know this guy, and that's why you get on Hellfest, or that's why you get on Wacken, right? And that's just the way it works. So I guess making music just for the sake of making music and being happy with the stuff that you do and performing live, it kind of gets overshadowed sometimes by the business side of all these things. But like I said, I've managed to get rid of those old ghosts and just be my own boss and be so happy with what I do now.
I wish fans understood that insight, or had the awareness or the wherewithal to go a little bit deeper than what's just presented to them. Because what you just said then is exactly how it is. And I've had that many, I'm almost 1,000 conversations into my show, by the way. So I love talking to people like you. These are my favorite types of conversations, because we get to the bottom of things and the truth comes out. And fans just don't understand that in most instances it's a political arrangement, and that's how these festival lineups are formed. Okay, because these labels have immense investment, and if they're not at the top of the bill at Hellfest, then they lose their investment. So that's how these bills are sorted, and that also underlines why supporting. When I say the underground, you know what I mean. I'm not talking about those bands that no one fucking has heard of, and I'm talking about you guys, the bands that are doing it, but are doing it independently. That's why it's so important to get out there and support bands like you guys.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because that's a reality of how things work, and but I can only speak for my own experience. I don't know if other people, but I get bashed sometimes just because of the fact I say the truth, and I'm not scared to say the truth. It's like, man, dude, come on, I really want to go to your city and play for you guys, but it's not up to me. It's up to the local promoters, and it's up to the overall promoter, and that's just like the thing. We want to play everywhere, and then people get mad that you're going to play this town, but you don't come to my place. It's like, that's out of our control. Go and talk to your local promoter and ask him why he's not booking Pestilence or something like this, right? They say, or they think it is so easy to get overseas and do this and do that, but that's just not in the real world how things work, and that's frustrating. I do understand, but that's just the reality of everything.
Yeah, that's a point. Do you experience a lot of negative? When I say feedback, I was reading reviews, some of the fan-based reviews of levels of perception, and some of them weren't favourable. I'm sure you read some of this stuff and go, whatever. I get it for me with the show, so don't worry. It's a universal thing. Everybody's got an opinion, like everybody's got an arsehole, right?
Yeah.
But do you cop a bit of that negative fan backlash, because you are very independent and you are strong-minded in the way, and you've got your own vision of what the band's about?
Yeah, the problem is I can't keep everybody happy, and there is a tendency that people in whatever, if it's still called the death metal scene, I don't know, man, because there's so many spin-offs now that you have deathcore, you have, I don't even know what's out there anymore, and whatever. But the thing is that a lot of people they tend to think that if you are in a death metal band, you have to have a Dan Seagrave album cover that has to been drawn or has to be. But come on, man, we live in 2024 now, where the whole world is feeling the AI, and for us that was not even a big thing. We thought it was a joke. It was pretty funny to see my face as a caricature, and then we made it kind of a morbid. And then for some reason there are people that cannot cope with that this is happening, and they just want to get stuck to the traditional thing. But listen, when we are recording an album, I don't have the budget that I had when I was going with Road Racer, right? Then they can pay a guy like Dan Seagrave to come up with a nice album cover like that, But the thing is that if I have to get a Dan Seagrave cover now, that would be pretty much almost my budget already, right there, right? Because I'm independent, because we do most of the things ourselves. And people just don't realize is that, they take stuff also, they take stuff too seriously. And all the internet warriors, they didn't have a voice back then. You have to go through, when you have a comment, they had magazine and fanzines. Yeah. And the people, they redact it and they say, well, maybe this comment we're not going to publish this comment, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now everybody can put their voice on the internet, and everybody's, messaging on Blabbermouth, and everybody's reading it. And then when you have one bad comment, the next will come, and then it'll be some people just thrive on negativity, I guess. That's what it is. For us, it was not a big deal. And in the end, we listened to the fans. We came up with a different album cover, and then they loved it, but then they had something else that they complain about, You can't, I mean, you can't serve them all. It's crazy.
It's so true, yeah. So I take it then you're embracing artificial intelligence, not just with regards to the artwork, but you embrace AI, the GPTs that are out. There's many out there, Perplexity, ChatGPT. Do you use them to help you write lyrics and come up with other musical ideas?
Well, actually, I have to comment on this because I do not agree with artificial intelligence, because I think it doesn't exist. These are man-made written programs. And it's already going in a direction where some stuff is being censored, and then they can't talk about it, being AI. And then on the other hand, then it's like we can talk about this, and we can write an essay about this, but you haven't done it yourself. You just gave them some keywords, and then they write a whole essay for you. Same with like writing lyrics; they write the lyrics for you. But that's why I disagree. And then people. But for an album cover, it could be fun, and that's what we did. But for me, AI composing Pestilence music is just not done, because then you're taking the soul out of myself as well. I'm not just ones and zeros.
Censorship and the rise of authoritarianism is something that I've talked about a lot on the show. I had a fantastic chat with your countryman Henry from God Dethroned only a couple of weeks ago, and we really went there about things. Is that a topic that's front of mind with you when you're thinking maybe not just about lyrics, but of the way in which you're inspired to write music, and also maybe even inform your lyrics?
I have been political, trying to keep it out of Pestilence for the longest time, but trying to be not too, like topics about death and zombies and gore and shit like that. I mean, we've never done stuff like that. We've always had a little bit more of a political character, or maybe just, society stuff, things that is going on, some stuff about war and stuff about, the greediness of people and this and that, With Portals, we go a little bit more into the esoteric aspect, because it's there as well. But I do believe that you have to have a message. You have to get a point across. And sometimes people don't even realize what you're singing about. It's like more, back in the old days when Obituary had no words and they were just like making noises, right? John Tardy. And people loved that as well. So I thought it was brilliant to do it that way. But you have to have a message in order to educate for some. I mean, obviously it's entertainment. I do understand this, but you have to have some kind of I guess sane things to say about certain stuff. I mean, I did a song about bulimia. which is that illness, whatever they call it an illness, you know.
Yeah, bulimia.
The song is called Devouring Frenzy. People love Devouring Frenzy, but they don't realize it's about bulimia, right? So I'm trying to get a point across, and I'm not seeing a message right out there. But you know, if you have any interest, then you could figure it out, right? And for me, there were only maybe 2 or 3 people in my whole musical career that asked me that question: is this about bulimia? So and that's the kind of the tendency that I kind of don't like where it's going. Is like, okay, so I have to sing about zombies and blood and guts and fucking destruction and shit like that for people to really enjoy themselves and kind of relate that with the music. You know, and for me, it's like I always want, with Pestilence especially, want to give some more tools, you know, some more, I guess, trying to get more interaction going.
Yeah, you're helping inform people, and I'm right behind you too. I've been an extreme metal fan for what are we now, 30 plus years or whatever. The lyrics have almost never done anything for me on that front. Okay, if they were about you know, esoteric topics and things to do with the day to day, I might have leaned into them a little bit more. But they could have been singing about kittens for all I gave a shit, to be honest with you. The music was the most important thing, but it still does leave room. And I've got to ask the question then, well, what are the key issues or the hot topics, if you like, of right now politically that may inform your lyrics?
Well, like I said, I try to get politics out, but I guess for my personal views is that, you know, some stuff and topics have triggered me in saying what I think about stuff, but I would, in a regular conversation that has nothing to do with music, I would tell you exactly the same, right? But I guess just because I'm like a public figure and maybe a little bit more well known than Joe Blow, whatever, you know, I've always been a strong advocate for thinking for yourself. And I'm not talking about the satanic thinking for yourself stuff. I'm talking about, for example, the vaccination and the stuff that was happening, and that they screwed us over with this shit, you know, and leaving the world in fucking chaos. Because I remember I was supposed to go and tour with Possessed in the States. And then right before that, they closed the borders because of COVID, right? And you know, and everybody was scared, and I was like, can't you see what is going on here? You know, this is just fucking the biggest lie ever, next to going to the moon and shit like that, you know. And then Patrick Mameli is a conspiracy theorist, and this can hurt my career, which sometimes it did, because people start to call me like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't care. You know, I stand behind, and now they still have to prove me wrong. Because of all the damage they have done to society, right? All the music was dead. You know, you couldn't go to concerts anymore. I mean, you know how that was, right? And then, you know, and some people were vocal about it, and they said that they spoke their mind. And now I hear a lot of people. They pat me on the shoulder. They say, "Man, awesome that you stand by your views and stuff like that." But you know, but at the time when it was happening, nobody liked me, because you know, and a few other people as well that had the same ideas about, you know, what they did to our society, I guess.
Yeah. What I thought was ultimately disgusting was bands like Rage Against the Machine. You know, fuck you, do what the authorities tell you. You know, this sort of thing. And how dare they tell us as citizens of our respective nations what we should be doing and thinking from the perspective of following an order to put something fucking in ourselves. Otherwise, like, if I didn't get the so-called vaccine, it's a gene therapy, but they call it a fucking vaccine, I would have lost my job. Okay, so we were all between a rock and a hard place. And that's where I was really disgusted by some of the musicians, the way that they came out. And they did it in the local scene here and stuff too. And they all come out and they shill for their favourite left-wing politicians. And they don't
And the crazy thing is that I remember back in the 80s when you felt like a big family, especially in the metal scene, you were like brothers and sisters, right? But then it kind of changed and it got politicized as well. And then even in our brotherhood and sisterhood of the metal scene, it was so politicized that you couldn't talk about certain topics anymore and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, I think that, remember with the groupies, at one point that was cool to be a groupie, and at one point then you're just being bashed for it as well, right? And back in the days they were doing it and everybody loved Motley Crue, that they had all these girls and all that stuff, right? Come on, man. They all have second agendas, I guess, and then it got politicized. You can't talk about Donald Trump anymore. You can't be loving Trump because you have to hate it. But then what is the other option? Hillary Clinton, Obama, that have led to wars as well. So, and it's just like it got so politicized, and we're here just for the music, for the entertainment. Life is hard as it is already, right? So just we need something to get our frustration out, and music is a good way for this, I guess.
Oh, like in your country, you've got the great Gert Wilders there, who's at least a truth seeker and standing up and actually saying things that people need to have vocalized in a public platform. Because if people are scared, people are scared of being attacked, because that's what the left's strength is, that they don't have a conscience. They attack. But a few of us, and I'm just doing my bit here, right? A few of us are standing up and saying, fuck you, we're not taking the shit. I've been doing it for years, right? And I've had Reddit threads created and all the usual bullshit. Probably the stuff you've had done about you too, stuff that you've experienced.
Oh, yeah.
But you just fuck you. You know what I say to them? If I, not that any of them would ever come up to me in person, because I don't mill about those scenes or what have you, but I'm just simply saying they're cowards. And that's the point. It is the absence of strength and courage and this display of cowardice around these days, to your point, where there's, for no apparent reason, what was, I don't know these pop stars' name, but there's one like Taylor Swift that's as big as Taylor Swift, so Billie Eilish. So her and her fucking brother came out and said, we're voting for Kamala Harris. It's like, what the hell? Like, who have you raped? Yeah. Meaning, what secrets have you got that you're trying to cover up to actually say this so that the hardcore lefties don't go after you? It's so.
But just I guess closer to home. We were supposed to go and tour with Possessed in the States, and you had Antifa there, and they picked up some of the things that I've said, and they twisted around, and then Blabbermouth and all these other social media platforms. They hooked on it, and then they say, okay, well, if Pestilence performs at one of your shows in America, then we're going to burn the place down. It's like, but hey, come on, but that's my eating money right there. I'm performing, to earn a living as well. I mean, that's my job, right? And then you have this political group saying, okay, to the local promoter, hey, you're not putting these guys on because then we're going to burn the place down. What is that, man? What is this?
It's a threat to incite violence, and the police. It's a threat to incite violence, and the police should be called and they should be locked up. Simple. I mean, but this is the problem with an absence of law and order that we're all experiencing and across the Western world these days. Is that violence is resistance, and words have been contorted to be violence. So you and I saying this in some people's eyes is violence. Like talking the way that they're not. If they have an academic background, they've got it from a far left wing institution, so they've been either gaslit, or they're so stupid they can't think outside of. They don't develop their own ideas. A lot of these types, and
right. So and going back to the music and the music scene is like. I felt that it got politicized so much that it takes so much away from the creativity of the person, right?
Yeah.
Like nowadays, like a real fucking crazy guy, because I can't stand people that oh man, black metal and this and that. This guy is so crazy. Come on, man. We already had G.G. Allen, right? It doesn't get crazier than that. But this guy wouldn't exist nowadays. You can't do that anymore. He will get politicized and he will get canceled, and then he wouldn't get any shows anymore. But back in the days, you could do that, like all the rest of the punk scene and all these other groups that were. I mean, I love the punk scene. Back in the days, I would rather go to a punk show and get all these fucking crazy people that were doing the crazy stuff, and then it got politicized, and now it's like, wow, a lot of the stuff you can't even talk about stuff anymore. You have to watch your mouth. It takes away so much. And just going back to basics, man. Let everybody just be themselves, man. Right?
Yeah, and don't self-censor. That's the other thing. To everybody listening, just do not self-censor. If you've got a view, okay, make sure it's an informed view. But stand on your pulpit and speak it out loud. Whether it's no matter what it is, okay. But make sure it's informed. Go and get educated. You must have an academic background yourself, though.
Yeah, I mean, I did go to school, right? So yeah. I do understand, but I think that a lot of stuff that you teach in school is more like indoctrination. It's not how life works, really, right? Yeah. So I think you have to figure out yourself, and especially when you were a parent, sometimes it's better to homeschool and then showing them things in life, because going to school and study, that costs a lot of money, and especially here in the Netherlands, you pay out of the ass, and you don't get the job that you learned for. Yeah. You went to school to get that job. You never get that job because the job is not there. They flooded the Netherlands with all these refugees and stuff like that, and this Ukraine war and all that stuff, and now the people that the real Dutch people, they get discriminated in their own country. They don't get the housing, they don't get nothing, and those guys get all the funds, they get the housing, they get the schooling, they get everything. It's just like an upside down world. And those are the topics that I actually do want to write about, because people need to understand what's going on. And if I can just reach out to one person that understands what I'm trying to say, I already won. That's what it's all about, I guess, is to educate. Education is very important.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm doing a theological master's at the moment. It's just about being able to. It's just about being given the tools to think, and the key word and the detail is think critically. The ability to do question things and be able to say, there's got to be another way we can do this. And you do start to feel a bit as though it's not that the world is against you. It's not like a personal thing, but you start to see how fucked up the systems actually are, which manifests so terribly through the COVID response.
Well, exactly. I can't say anything else about it. It's just correctly. You're just right. Definitely. Yeah. And sometimes you feel like you're unheard. People don't, because the thing is that, they distract you with a lot of distractions, and just regular day life is just, you worry about just paying the bills. You can't even think about anything else anymore. Right. So and that's the whole thing. You don't have the time and money to buy you freedom so you can think for yourself.
Yeah. I suppose housing I did talk about this with Henry, so he did give me an answer. But from your perspective, housing affordability there must be as bad as it is here as well. Like, in other words, regular people can't afford a house anymore, or are they renting, more people renting?
Well, it's especially, I live in Rotterdam, which is one of the major cities in the Netherlands, like Amsterdam. Housing is just one room, maybe, and then with a shared bathroom, whatever. But I mean, where I live, I think it's 1,200 euros per month, and that's just like the rent money. And then you still have nothing. You have to pay for gas, for the rest of the electricity, all the bills, all the stuff. So I'm leaving I'm going to Thailand, man. I'm never coming back. I'm just fucking going away.
Good on you, mate. Yeah, fantastic. Well, congratulations on that move. You'll love it there, mate. No doubt you've been there plenty of times, but it's great country, Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you got more worth for your buck, and it's not like oh man, the Netherlands, because it's Europe, it's more modern. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's more modern there, and it's for way less money. And I always love the controlled chaos that they have there. I love the food. I love the way the people reacted to COVID. It was not as crazy as that we had in all these other. I mean, I've seen stuff about Australia as well. I've seen stuff about Canada as well, and about the States as well. It was terrible the way they treated their own fucking citizens, man.
But it's the way that my fellow Australians, particularly in Victoria, the state of Victoria, Melbourne, so the city of Melbourne, even talking to some of them over. I'll just quick story. I remember I play. That's why I got the guitars here. I play most weekends covers, and I was playing a gig, and one of the blokes associated with the band, he's from Melbourne, and his mate was there who was from. So he's moved up from Melbourne. I'm in Queensland, and his mate was from Melbourne, and we were just talking, and it was back in my drinking days, and I just said, I said to him, why are you Victorians so fucking socialist? What is going on? He wanted to fight me.
Yeah.
That's because they can't see outside of the echo chamber that they live in. Okay. And you saw that in like Toronto. I know Canada was terrible. Australia and Canada, I always thought we in Australia, I'm not saying Crocodile Dundee, but we were a bit more independent, a bit more fuck you, a bit more, I still am. A lot of people around me still am, but we're not. The people in the cities shill for the authoritarians. The dobbing your neighbours. That's what happened in Melbourne, mate, and people were dobbing in their neighbours through that period. It was a sad indictment on where we're at as a society, unfortunately.
We had these phone numbers that you could call if you'd see something about people not wearing their masks. You can you can snitch on them and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. This is like Nazi Germany, It's just like, and people get crazy because it involves them as well, right? So it's rather to have other people have a bad time and you get exempt from that. You're okay, because you are telling these people, oh man, they're not wearing their masks, and then you feel more, feel good about yourself. But I never wore a mask, for example. I don't do that shit, man. I'm not. Yeah, what is that? And it didn't even work, That's just like BS.
It's bullshit. Right? It's absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
people go, no, it's fucking not. It's just lies.
It's lies over lies, definitely. But just to go back, it's going to be the first time for us to go to Australia, and I hope that we can make a lot of people happy. We're playing our songs from all these albums that you got to know very well, I guess.
Yes.
And hopefully after this, if it's going to be a very good experience, hope to come back, because it's been, it's going to be our first time, and we exist for 40 years. What is that? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, Dicey's about the best in the business too, by the way. No doubt you know Glenn quite well. But look, the fact that you're coming down and you're playing shows in the major cities, mate, it means a lot to us extreme metal fans who have been waiting for a very long time to hear from you. So, mate, can't wait to see you when you come down. I'll certainly be there.
Yeah, definitely, man. So we can shake hands. I don't drink any alcohol, but, that shouldn't refrain us from having a nice conversation, I guess.
Absolutely, mate. I'll hit you up in Brisbane if I can. I won't mill about too much, but I'll try and hit you up in Brisbane anyway.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for your interest.
Hope you enjoyed that chat. It's always refreshing to talk to these legends that have been in the industry for a long time. I just find they don't self-censor, and they're able to go there and hold a conversation about all types of topics, as you just heard. All right, if you enjoyed that chat with Patrick, there are many more over at scarsandguitars.com. If you like Cradle of Filth, I have developed a bit of a library of conversations with a few current band members, not many, but mainly the ex-band members, focusing on the 90s. The late, great Stuart Anstis. I hope to chat to